Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brass, and today I'll be telling you a couple of stories of love and adventure in mythology. First up, we got Cupid and Psyche. Psyche was a beautiful woman with goddess-like looks, whom got guys' attention. She was so beautiful that the goddess of beauty, Venus, got less attention. Venus was peeved by this, and ordered Cupid to make Psyche fall in love with the ugliest man in the world. But plans changed as Cupid fell in love with Psyche. While men liked looking at Psyche, that's all they were interested in, and they didn't want to marry her. She'd go to a hilltop before being carried away by a wind to a mansion where she stayed for a while. She had been told her husband would be the man who got her from the hilltop, but she never got to really see him during her stay. Psyche wanted a husband real bad and fell for Cupid, and when Cupid told her not to look at him, she took it seriously and said she didn't want to be without him. Psyche would see her sisters despite being told that it would lead to bad results. Cupid was right, as her sisters would see her wealth and get filled with jealousy and sought to ruin her relationship. They do this by lying to her and telling her that Cupid really wasn't a man but a serpent out to get her. That's why they said he didn't show himself to her. Psyche would go to kill him, but would find out after seeing him in bed that he was a beautiful man, and Cupid left and ran away because she broke her deal to not look at him. She'd vowed to spend the rest of her life, if need be, to show her love for him. She'd make herself a servant of Venus, hoping to win back Cupid. Venus would torment her with seemingly impossible tasks, all of which she had gotten help to complete. She'd at the end get knocked out after opening a box with a quote on, quote, beauty from Persephone. Cupid would find her and wake her up, and got Jupiter, aka Zeus, to formally recognize the wedding, thus making sure Venus could no longer hurt her. Jupiter would give her ambrosia, which made Psyche immortal, and would have her stay in heaven, thus both giving Psyche happiness and making sure that Venus wouldn't have to worry about men not worshiping her due to Psyche's beauty. Next story of love, we got the tale of Pygmalion and Galatea. Pygmalion was a capricious, sexist sculptor whom initially detested women so much that he would make a female statue for the sole purpose of showing men how ugly their women were. He worked hard on the statue, and shockingly enough, he made it so beautiful he fell in love with it. He'd be upset because she wouldn't respond to his affection, and longed for her to be real. He'd ultimately give up, but he would still think about it. Pygmalion would go to Venus on feast day and asked her for a maiden like his statue, but Venus knew he wanted his statue alive, and so she did make her alive, and Pygmalion married the now named maiden and former statue Galatea. First adventure story of the day is the tale of the quest of the Golden Fleece. The Greek king Athamius abandoned his wife Nephele and got married to Princess Inu. Neph was worried that her sons were in danger because Inu would want her children to become king. Neph was right, and Inu did try to get Phrixus killed as a way to stop the Greek kingdom from starving. When Phrixus was brought to the altar, a ram with a golden fleece around it came and rescued him. The ram brought him to the Colchis country, where he was taken in by the people, and the king Edith let him marry one of his daughters. To thank the ram for saving his life, he killed it and sacrificed it to Zeus, and gave the golden fleece to Hades. Phrixus' uncle, who was by rights king in Greece, got his lands taken from him by Peleus. This uncle had a son named Jason, who would become the star of this tale. Jason was fated to kill Peleus, as he had only a single sandal on, and that is what an oracle had told Peleus to look out for. Jason did not know about the oracle's prophecy, and in his first encounter with Peleus, he offered a peace deal where Peleus got to keep all of his wealth while the throne would have to be given to him after it. Peleus agreed to the deal only if Jason could get the golden fleece, which he believed to be a suicide mission. Jason agreed to do it as he was all for adventure, and he had recruited several men who would become main stars in this tale, and members of the Argonauts, aka Hercules, Orpheus, Castor, Pollux, and Peleus. They rode in the ship called Argo. They traveled very far, first off to Lemnos, where the women killed off most of the men except for one man whom was the king. They were nice to the Argonauts and gave them food and drinks. Hercules would be taken out of the game when he had to rescue his armor bearer from a water nymph, and thus had to leave his crew and didn't come back. The Argonauts would fight off the Harpies next, after being told the backstory of Phineus, a man gifted by Apollo with prophecies mythology and cursed by Zeus with harpies who would ruin his food. Callias and Zetes would try to kill the harpies before being stopped by Iris, the rainbow messenger, and told them the harpies would never bother Phineus again. Phineus would give them advice about sending a dove through the clashing rocks in order to see if it was good to pass through, and they used the advice to help them pass through, and the clashing rocks were now able to be passed through by everyone. The Argonauts would pass through the country of the Amazons before heading to Colchis, where the Golden Fleece was at. They knew things were not looking good and felt there would be no help for them. Hera proved them wrong on that and arranged for Cupid to get Medea, the magic wielder, and King Odysseus' daughter to fall in love with Jason. Hera would also put a mist around the Argonauts so they could reach the land undetected when they approached the king's palace. They have a big feast with the king and told him who they were and what they wanted. Jason offered to provide any service Ides wanted in exchange for the Golden Fleece. Ides didn't like them and would have killed them if they hadn't ate at his table. Ides gave Jason the task of yoking 2 bulls and defeat dragon-teeth men. Jason would get Medea to help him conquer the task with her magic skills. She gave him ointment that would give him immense strength and told him about throwing a huge stone in the way of the dragon-teeth men so they would kill each other. Overall, it worked. King Ides still didn't plan on giving them the Golden Fleece, and the fleece was guarded by a snake. Medea would help them find it and would put the snake in a deep sleep with a lullaby. Jason grabbed the Golden Fleece and they took off. Ides would send Medea's brother Epistorus, but Medea would bring about his death by tricking him and having Jason killing him. With all of that out of the way, the Argonauts would go through their other trials, like going through the whirlwind of Charybdis, which they did through help from Hera, and they defeated the Bronze Man through help of Medea's magic. The Argonauts would go back to Greece and disband, and Jason with Medea and the Golden Fleece would help out Peleus, who drove Jason's father to suicide, and Jason's mother, who died out of grief over Jason's father. Jason would get Medea to kill Peleus by tricking his daughters into killing him by making them think it would make Peleus young again. Now, despite all the good that Medea did for him, whom even made herself an exile for him, and in fact had promised to marry her, Jason betrayed her and got married to Chrysia, the daughter of the king of Corinth, to strengthen his political ties. Jason told her that he had repaid her by making sure she would only be exiled and not killed, and gave her plenty of gold and resources so she could be set on her exile. Jason also informed her that Aphrodite made her fall in love with him, that she should be grateful to him, and that he helped her reputation by having her being known as the person who helped the Argonauts. Medea took revenge and killed Jason's wife by having her wear a poisoned dress, which also killed the king because he had tried saving his daughter, and Medea would kill the 2 children she had with Jason in order to not risk them being enslaved, tortured, or killed by Jason himself. Medea would take off, and because he had broke his vow to Medea, Hera abandoned him. He became a mess and would go to the now decaying rot of the Argo ship to sleep to relieve his good moments, and would die when a beam fell from the ship onto him. The last story of the day is the tale of Pegasus and Bellerophon. Bellerophon was supposedly the son of either the cursed king Glacius or the god Poseidon. I go for the interpretation that Poseidon was his father due to the tale's emphasis on Beller's body and the fact that his mom was taught by Athena and was overall a peer of the gods. Beller wanted the great horse Pegasus from early on. Pegasus was a divine horse that sprang from Gorgon's blood. He was told by the wise seer Polyidus to sleep at Athena's temple in the chance that the gods would talk to him, and he'd have Athena appear in front of him. She'd give him a golden bridle so he could find and ride Pegasus. He'd fly through the air, and this would be the start of his journey. Beller would accidentally kill his brother and would go to Protus, the king of Argos, to be forgiven, where he would be turned down, and he would turn down the advances of the queen, whom would tell the king he wronged her, which would get the king to send Beller to deliver a letter to the king of Lycia, which, unbeknownst to Beller, told the king of Lycia to kill him. King Lycia did not want to break the Greek rule of hospitality and thus sent Beller on a dangerous journey to kill the Chimera, so if anything the blood wouldn't be on his hands. With Pegasus flying him, he didn't have to worry about the monster hurting him a lot, and he successfully killed it. Beller would conquer mighty warrior tribes such as the Salmi and the Amazons, which won him the friendships of Protus and would get him a daughter to marry. Beller's pride, though, is is what got the best of him, as he thought he was more than a mere mortal and could take his place amongst the gods, and tried to have Pegasus fly him to Olympus, but Pegasus would throw him off, refusing to go on his trip. Belor would become a traveler, depressed from the events, and avoided men until his death. On the bright side, Pegasus was brought to Olympus, where he become the official horse for Zeus. Well, that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.